A question I get asked all the time is, Milk, what's the best way of memorizing vocabulary? In this video, I'm going to give you these 5 easy tips of how you can best memorize the vocabulary. By the way, if you're new here, my name is Milk and I really enjoy learning German. Finding yourself in a situation where you have to learn so many words at the same time, especially if you have to prepare for an exam or something like that, it can actually be very challenging. I remember myself when I started learning German. I had a time pressure of wanting to finish learning German pretty quickly and then go on to do my medical licensing exam to work in German. This was pretty intense. I remember opening this book and looking at it and I'm like, what? I have to memorize this whole book? I was like, man, how do I go about this? I want to just share with some of you guys some of these methods that I basically came up with that really helped me make my vocabulary stick. So if you're that person who feels like you actually know German and then you open your mouth to speak and then at some point you feel yourself like you're stuck and you cannot just go on because somehow the word you wanted to use has disappeared from the head and all of a sudden the head feels blank, I got you. I really understand what it feels like. And so let me just share these tips with you. The first method I would recommend if you're learning vocabulary would be actually using flashcards. Flashcards for me were a game changer. I remember getting introduced to flashcards when I was in medical school. I mean, when I was studying medicine in Uganda. These were really helpful. Of course, by then I was actually using physical cards. These are cards I was kind of writing out for myself. They were very helpful in memorizing anatomy and some of the facts in medicine like SI units and other things that don't have sense to them other than just simply getting them into your head. But at some point, pen and paper cards, they kind of get messy at some point if you have to write something and then rub and maybe something is not right, or sometimes they actually just get lost altogether. I remember when I got to find out about this app called Anki. Man, Anki was like a total game changer because the cards right now can even be e-cards where you don't have to carry physical cards wherever you go every time. You can even have the cards simply on your phone and you simply go through them. And Anki does an excellent job at this. Anki uses a method called SRS, it's called Space Repetition System. It's like AI powered and helps you revise what you actually need to learn other than wasting time on what you already know. Because we have a tendency as, students, if you've been a student, you know this, that every time you go to study, you kind of start with the first pages of what you already know in the first place. So you end up wasting time learning the things you already know and then leaving out the things you've never tackled altogether. It helps because it kind of forces you to revise more what you need to revise, in other words, what you're forgetting, and then it keeps on bringing those cards at those intervals, which turns out to be very, very, very helpful. Yes, it's a game changer when it comes to vocabulary. So use this app called Anki. You don't have to use physical cards. Anki actually can also be downloaded on your laptop. As I talk right now, I have an Anki app on my laptop. There is also a version on the phone, and it's actually free for Android users. So, I mean, why not? Now, the other technique of effectively learning vocabulary is using association. The brain learns better with associating words with images or even situations and stories. And sometimes it even taps into the feeling of a thing. Memory sticks better that way. What I would recommend is if you're using flashcards, for you to tap into this technique, try to add images to your flashcards. I'm not saying that you go around taking thousands of images all over the place and you keep on putting them into Anki, but as long as you can have a picture connotation of the exact word that you want to represent. For example, if you want to say here is the lamp and here is called die Lampe auf Deutsch, it helps if you have like a picture of a light bulb there, which is shining a bit of light. Maybe the lamp represents that somebody is reading. Then you start to actually associate the lamp with reading, which is so-called lesen. You understand what I mean? Kind of you're associating the same setting, and so every time you hear of the word die Lampe, it is providing light unto somebody reading. Or for some people who know this, your word is the lamp unto my feet. In that regard, yes, just kind of like a torch. So associate imagery to the words, put images to those cards and kind of tap into the association effect of how the brain best learns vocabulary. You can actually even just get some of these images on the internet that you just put into Google, whichever image you want to add onto the card, and then you just add it on the card. Now, talking of association, the brain, like I said, always likes clustering things into groups. Try to learn in groups. This is different in that, for example, if you're learning things about the house, other than just, having them randomly split up, random things which, for example, are in the sitting room, in the living room, just classify things and learn, for example, things which are in the kitchenware, and then the living room, group them up. That helps a lot because it helps the memory reinforce better. So learn things into those clusters. Go in the kitchen, and as you're learning, this also ties in with my method number 4 that I like to emphasize a lot is learn them with their articles, their bestimmt article, definite article. For example, let me just take an example in the kitchen. When I want to learn what a spoon is, a spoon, it's der Löffel. Der Löffel means it's a masculine article, der Löffel. What I'm imagining is I'm imagining an old man taking soup with a spoon. And as I'm imagining, I'm kind of even trying to go crazy with the imagination. And I see that maybe the soup is dripping down on his beard. Der Mann trinkt Suppe mit dem Löffel. So as I'm saying der Löffel, I'm having this image in my head. And then in the same setting of learning in a clustered way, I learn about the fork. The fork is die Gabel. Die Gabel, when I think of die Gabel, of course, that means it's a feminine article. I look at a lady who is very fancy, who doesn't want to eat with hands, and they want to use a fork. Ich esse mit der Gabel. When it is die, the moment you add the word mit, it goes to der, but that's very complicated, dative case and all that kind of stuff. Let's stick to the basics here. I see die Gabel, and it is a fancy lady who wants to only eat with die Gabel. And then das Messer. Now, das Messer is neutral. It's neutral. It takes on the neutral article. Yes, it is dividing between, it's a knife, so it divides in between. I imagine, if you guys are familiar with this thing, rightly dividing the word. Eh? Exactly, rightly dividing. A workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing. So das Messer, it divides. It is neutral. Learn to associate, but as you associate, add on technique number 4 of always making sure you're learning with the articles along. Don't postpone the articles to later. Well, I'm not saying that you beat yourself hard and make sure you get every article right, because some of them even don't have a logical way of flow. But whenever you can, make sure that you are learning with the article altogether. Now, the fifth technique, which I actually love so much and something that I'm so good at, is come up with stories. That might actually sound a bit fringy and funny, and yeah, but try it out. Instead of just learning a word, try to come up with a story concerning that word. If you're to look at this word, can you try to formulate a story from the blue concerning that word? And what that does, it actually helps you think about the word more intuitively. The word is getting to have a certain relationship with the brain and not just that it's just being there. So come up with stories concerning words. For example, if I have learned that this is called a stift or a pen, so I can come up with a story like, you know what, I like using red pens, or maybe I even remember how teachers used to mark my books using a red pen. And then I am kind of associating that with the pen. Other than simple learning, it's called a pen. So try that technique of coming up with stories in your head. It actually kind of works the magic and helps you. So actually, when you just pay attention to these 5 techniques that I've shared with you guys, you are going to just realize that time comes when you're having conversations in German, somehow words just pop out and you're like, wait, I actually knew this word. How did I know it? This happens always in English sometimes, that sometimes you'll be saying something, you are sure you don't know the word. And then somehow when you open your mouth, the word is there. You'll memorize your vocabulary way better, and that will be very helpful for you guys. Now, if you are somebody who is looking into improving your German from A2 to B2, please consider checking out this video here. In this video, I actually talk about how you can improve your German from A2 to B2, because some people just simply tend to be stuck all the way. Please give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Consider leaving a comment wherever you found one of the method works for you. And until the next one, bye and peace.